Hello everyone, it's finals time in the IronNet Championships and it's going to be an exciting final series. This is It Goes Off. This is Grantley Bernard, I'm Andrew Gaze, and on Monday night, Grantley, you were there for the very prestigious award ceremony where we had the MVP for the WNBL and NBL and All-Star 5 for both leagues announced. It was an exciting time and the big winners were Kevin Lish and Susie Batkovich.
They sure were. I think Kevin Lish surprised a few people by winning it. Was a little surprise to me. I thought that Cedric Jackson was probably my pick. Just I guess a more well-rounded, more consistent season. But I guess if you look at what Kevin Lish has done, he did lead the league in scoring, albeit by a smidgen. But I think probably the thing that goes in Lish's favour is the Wildcats are obviously a winning team, and he regularly makes big and important shots. And those are the sorts of things that when you come to voting, you don't forget those.
Well, no complaints from me. I think it was one of those seasons, as we mentioned last year, there was really no clear-cut winner throughout the course of the season. So very tightly fought.
Well, it was a very close vote. I think there was only 3 votes in it at the end between Lish and Jamar Wilson from Cairns Taipans, who had a great first year in the league, with Julian Kazoo in third, which again, that was a surprise to me a little bit as well. I probably didn't think he was as good as he was last year, but I guess beauty is in the eye of the beholder, isn't it?
Well, for a bigger surprise for me was that Cedric Jackson wasn't right up there. He was up there, but not in the top three. But also, 3 of the top 4, I think, was point guards. So it's a reflective of the type of league we have right now, and all those players had an outstanding season. Julian Kazoo was still very, very good. The thing about Julian Kazoo, he was so good the season before, is that you have these expectations. But in the WNBL, we touch on them as well as Susie Batkovich. She was just phenomenal. Although her team, the Lightning, weren't able to get the title after winning the minor premiership. She was.
Are you still hungover from Monday night? You got trouble, haven't you?
The Diet Cokes were starting to really kick in. I actually splurged and actually got stuck into a lemon, lime and bitters, so apologies for that. But she was fantastic. She had an unbelievable season.
Oh, the Batgirl was huge. She's probably one of these players that's, because she's come through in the Lauren Jackson era, may not have been fully appreciated for as good as she is, and she's had injuries and setbacks along the way. She's played in Europe, so she's been out of the eye a little bit. But when she comes home and plays in the WNBL, the Batgirl
fires up,
is unstoppable.
She's a superstar, and I would expect that she'll be running around in London in a few months' time representing Australia with the Opals.
There would be an absolute shock if she wasn't.
Grantley, just talk us through some of the other major winners on the evening.
The other major awards, Coach of the Year went to Andre Lamanis. I don't think anyone could have a problem with that. 20-win season for the Breakers. Most improved, Daniel Johnson. I think we tipped that in about week 2 of the season. Best defensive player, Damien Martin, for the 2nd year in a row. And the Rookie of the Year was Anatoly Bose, which I think most people would endorse.
They were all pretty straightforward, and congratulations to all the winners on some outstanding work throughout the season. We are now at the business end of the season. It's playoff time. This is where reputations are made or sometimes tarnished. We've got the New Zealand Breakers taking on the Townsville Crocs and the Perth Wildcats up against the Gold Coast Blaze. New Zealand and Perth have been the pace setters right throughout the season. But for whatever reason, when you go into these final series, they're going to be the unbackable favourites, but you do not discount the Crocs or the Blaze.
Well, you can't. I mean, we saw Cairns last season get through the grand final. No one thought that would happen. I guess the interesting thing in these 2 series, you would expect New Zealand's going to take care of Townsville. They've covered them over the course of the season. The Perth-Gold Coast matchup is an interesting one. Gold Coast actually have the head-to-head over Perth on the season 2-1. So they know that they can beat the Perth Wildcats. That could be the one I cannot see the Crocs getting over New Zealand.
No.
But the Perth Gold Coast one, that could be quite a toss-up.
And the Crocs, unfortunately for them, have sort of limped into the final series, haven't they? They've just hung on and got there because of splits over the Cairns Taipans. But the Gold Coast Blaze, they are playing some mighty fine basketball. Now, I know you can't read too much into their round 25 win over the New Zealand Breakers, but it was a comprehensive victory, albeit the Breakers put the cue in the rack a little bit. But
put the cue in the rack? They never even took the cover off the table. They didn't even put the balls in the triangle.
Correct. However, I think you had to be impressed with the way the Gold Coast Blaze went about it, and they shot the ball very well.
They did. They shared their minutes around. They used it as a tune-up for the playoffs.
And
the Breakers took the night off. Let's face it.
Well, they did. And they are finally tuned, but Grantley, we need to just get your tips. I know you're going with the Breakers.
I've got the Breakers over Townsville.
Yes, and I would agree with that.
And, look, Perth Gold Coast, it's one of those...
You're not going for an upset, are you?
No, I honestly don't know which way to go on it. Look, you think on what you've seen over the years that Perth, and look at their squad, Perth should win it. Gold Coast have covered them off during the season, but then Gold Coast has the tendency to hit little inconsistent patches. You don't know exactly what you're going to get from who or where. All right, I'll go for Gold Coast.
Well done. Took a while, but we finally got there.
Well, that was what you wanted me to say.
I am not going to go against...
No, of course, you'll go for Perth.
Popular opinion. Yeah. I'm going to stick with the Perth Wildcats.
There's a surprise.
Only because I just think the home court advantage, they have got the jungle over there in Perth absolutely rocking. So it's going to be a very hostile environment for the Blaze. And they've full credit to them. They've got there, but it's going to be a tough assignment. But good on you for going...
Hold the presses. Andrew tips the favourites.
What about you?
Front page news.
What about you going from one? You wouldn't even talk about the Blaze mid-season. You'd completely dismissed him, and at least I was sticking up for him back then.
It was not dismissal. It was to put them in their place and get them fired up to where they are now.
Well, Grantley...
On the way to a championship, maybe.
Grantley, I believe for the last time this season, we're going to have a look at some of the better performances and some of the not-so-good performance in a very popular segment we call Who's Hot? Who's Not? And given that I have had the more pleasurable duties of touching on some of the better experiences throughout the course of the season, I'm going to hand that responsibility over to you. And today I'm actually going to tackle some of the not-so-good ones. But you tip us off with some of the better performances that have come to light in the last week.
The Hots.
Please.
Tom Abercrombie. In the last 3 games before the Blaze game, because we're not going to count that, because that was pretty much a walkover.
Wow.
They might as well just not turned up for 10 minutes and gone 20-0. In the last 3 games before the Blaze game, he was averaging 22 points per game on 23 of 39 shooting. That's 59% from the field. That's pretty hot.
Yep,
That's pretty hot, Abercrombie. Kevin Lish, the MVP winner. You can't get any hotter than winning the MVP. So Kevin Lish. And finally, we have to finally, for one last time, acknowledge in the Hots Matt Campbell.
Yes.
Who bowed out a winner.
Excellent.
And received the key to the city of Wollongong. That's a fairly significant honour.
It is a huge honour. He didn't need that because he's always going to be highly regarded by the Wollongong community and, of course, the Wollongong Hawks. His outstanding contribution. And yet again, we say well done to Matty Campbell.
Did you ever get the key to the city of Melbourne?
Yes, we got the keys. I think
No, you. You, not we, you.
I don't...
Or did you have to just put up with King of Moomba?
No, I was King of Moomba. Yeah, that was a wonderful,
specially made crown. They would have had to get the hoop off a barrel, wouldn't they, and fashion the crown around that?
That's pretty funny. Now it's now time to have a look at some of the less notable performance, and I'm going to start off with the Adelaide 36ers. You spoke about Matty Campbell having that win over the Adelaide 36ers on Sunday, and unfortunately, that meant that the Adelaide 36ers picked up the wooden spoon for this season. I think that, although they've got a very bright future, got some fantastic young players in Mitch Creek, was outstanding, who had a hellacious dunk on the weekend, fantastic stuff, and Daniel Johnson, most improved. So Tom Daly, another young fella coming through the ranks. So they've got some good tools to work with, but this year, not hot.
Do you remember when Adelaide used to like to call itself Title Town?
Yes.
And now it's Spoon City.
Spoon City. Oh, that will hurt. Next, I'm going to put in the not hot category, and this may create a little bit of controversial, but the WNBL, I'm sorry, goes into the not hot category because we have an All-Star 5, Grantley, and I would have thought it was pretty straightforward. All-Star 5. That means, from my understanding, there are 5 people that actually get into the All-Star 5.
Well, weren't there 5?
No. This year, the WNBL, they've gone with an All-Star 5, but there's 6 players in the All-Star 5. So I don't understand that, Grantley. Do you understand it?
Who starts?
Well, in the All-Star 5/6, they had Susie Batkovich, which was understandable. They also had Kathleen McLeod, very good stuff. Sam Richards was brilliant for the Bulleen Boomers.
Shanavia Dowdell
was very, very good. And
Rachel Jarry, and of course Belinda Snell.
And Belinda Snell. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know. I don't understand it, so I'm putting them in the not hot. And lastly, I'm also putting in a former NBL player. His time in the NBL was very, very brief. But we never like the stages or those that act, but sometimes we respect those.
What are you telling us? You never flopped?
Did you ever
Sometimes
flop? Flopping is a very harsh word, but flop. But have a look at this vision. Here is Michael Panisi, who I believe spent a very
had a cup of coffee with the Crocs.
Was there passing by with the Crocs. His brother David played a little bit more with them. Have a look at the flop here. Now, there is a delayed reaction that deserves...
There's no pause in the video. There's no pause in the video. That's moving.
That is unbelievable stuff, Grantley, by Panisi. But I tell you what else, though, is unbelievable, has been the performance of Darren Ning. We said this week in, week out, but 16 in a row in the 24-second shot challenge.
16 out of 16, perfection.
Perfection in 24-second, world record. We have proven, though, that it can be beaten because Daryl Coletto last week, I think it was, put up 19 field goal attempts. So it can be beaten. This week, we're going back out to the Gold Coast Blaze, and Mark Worthington's along there with Will Hudson. Now, the big fellas, they haven't had much of a go this season, so we're going to throw the big fellas in there, and let's see how many Will Hudson can knock down in 24 seconds.
Hey guys, I'm here with Will Hudson today. Will, I think you might be one of the only 5 men to compete in this competition. Are you willing to get more than 4?
I will aim for 3.
And I hear a rumour that your girlfriend is coming into town this week. You must be very excited.
I don't have a girlfriend. Thanks, Trace. One of my friends is flying in, though.
Lady friend flying in. I like it. Ali versus Frazier, but that might have been one of the greatest knockdowns of all time, beating out shooter Adrice. How do you feel?
Well, I was aiming for 3, I got 13, so maybe at the end of games I should be the one dribbling up the court to make the free throws.
I know you and Adrice have some healthy competition with everything you do. Is there anything that you want to tell your little buddy?
He needs to step his game up. That's about the only thing.
Well, let's do the official sign-off. Well, it goes off. Boom. Well done, Will Hudson.
Well done, Will Hudson. Always good when the big fellas can get one over some of the little guys, and outstanding effort to top Adrice de Lyon.
Too hard to guard, but still not good enough to beat the doctor.
He did some great work. Well done to Will Hudson, and just technique, just a few little fumbles along the way.
They need to work on that for next year. 13
of 16 though, so not a bad effort there by Will. Grantley, it's now time of the program where we want to get the feedback. We get the feedback from our viewers out there, and the way they hit us is through the social media, NBL Facebook or the Twitter. Andrew goes 10, Grantley Bernard. Is it Grantley Bernard hashtag pinhead? I think is the one you got to hit because it's the smallest head in the history of human beings. But for those that have the best question each week is a Spalding ball. They've been giving them away by the truckload this season. The best question gets an official Spalding NBL game ball. That is the best in the business. And if you want to purchase one and part with, I think it's $129, jump on the NBL webpage because that's where you can go and order one online. And this is a little segment we call the Mark Look at that minute. First up, Grantley, who have we got?
We've got Jonathan Lemish, who wants to know, has Shane Heal done enough to win the coaching job at the Kings?
I think that he hasn't done his chances any harm. 3-3 in the last 6 games.
And I really thought you were almost going to say something that might have been construed as negative.
No, no harm done by his chances. 3-3. Remember, he inherited the team at the end of the season. Very difficult set of circumstances. He made some changes. And probably statistically, the thing that worked in his favour, he's turned the team statistically from one of the worst defensive teams in the competition to one of the better ones. So that comes down to coaching, and he's done an outstanding job of that. My mail is that this week there will be an announcement. It's either going to be Shane Heal or Brendan Joyce. They are the final 2 candidates via the rumour mill, so it might be completely and utterly inaccurate. But Brendan Joyce or Shane Heal, 2 very, very good candidates. And I think that Shane would have done enough. But if Brendan got the job, he would be outstanding because he's a proven winner.
If your mail is correct,
yes,
and it's down to Shane Heal,
which is a big if,
and Brendan Joyce already, just like days after the season is finished, my question would be, have the Kings done a thorough coaching search, or are they just settling for who's out and about?
No, I think they would have. I think that they would have gone out there and explored all the different options, and they've done a pretty good job, I believe, of just keeping it under wraps, going through it and checking out all the candidates. But let's face it,
Did you put your hand up?
They have got 2 outstanding candidates.
Did you get asked?
No invitation coming my way. It's a bit of a sore spot, Grantley, but let's not worry about that. You've set me back a bit. Who's up next, Grantley?
Well, Fathead, Brendan Ed wants to know, fans have voted in overwhelming support of an all-star game returning next season. What do you think the format should be? Should it be North versus South?
Probably. I personally think that the internationals versus the Australian all-stars is generally a good way to do it because it can become a little bit more competitive. It's not just an exhibition. But I think nowadays, with 9, possibly 10 teams in the competition, and the way in which the Americans or the internationals, most of them are guards, so it might be hard to get a full complement of a roster. So perhaps the North-South, which they've done before, they've done both concepts before. I would think that right now the North-South option would probably be the best, and I personally hope it comes back. I love the All-Star game concept and the 3-point shootout and the way in which it's an exhibition game. It's a souped-up version of the Harlem Globetrotters.
I'll give you, here is a new All-Star format for the NBL for next year. All right?
Pen is poised. I want to write this down.
You pick your 2 coaches.
Yes.
Right? Now, it might be the top 2 coaches in the league at a certain point in the season.
I like where you're going.
All right? You pick your 20 players that you would like to see in an All-Star game.
Yes.
Okay?
20 players.
Okay, an hour before the game, they all stand out on the court in a line.
Schoolyard.
And the coaches go, okay,
I like it.
I am taking too hard to guard. Oh, I'll have Cedric Jackson. I'll have Joey Kazoo. And off we go. Now
the problem is, what if you're 19th or 20th sitting back there? It's like in the schoolyard, if you're one of the last ones picked, that is the greatest kick in the guts you'll ever want to see. Hey, the joy, I made the All-Star team. I finished picked last.
Hey, well, that's part of the deal. That's part of the deal. So you have that. You pick your teams, right? Boom, 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 boom. All right. But then the guy that gets picked 9th, that gets 19th or 20th picked, hasn't he got a point to prove?
Well, he does.
So there's a bit of ammunition there. All right. You get the sponsor on top to whack in $10,000.
Why 10?
Well, let's make it 20. Winner takes all.
I like it.
All right. So schoolyard picks, 20,000.
I like
winner
it.
take all. Do you think you have a game then?
I like in what I hear, Grant Leonard, NBL administration.
Chuck and Larry, go to work.
You can maybe be the commissioner of the whole All-Star game. I like
All-Star game commissioner.
That's it. Hey, and lastly, James Ho puts in a question. He wants to know, what will be the most exciting one-on-one matchup of the semi-final series? Crawford v Abercrombie, Gill v Jackson, too hard to guard, Adrice de Leon versus Perth guards. I think he probably means Damien Marto.
Leash, Robbins, Martin.
Or any others. Woolpert versus the refs is another one which he just facetiously throws out
Paul
there.
Woolpert versus the refs could be quite entertaining.
The point is, what matchup are you looking to see the most?
I think that all those that he picked up are quite good. I think the Gill versus Jackson one,
nice,
could be a good one because Jackson's obviously he's the straw that makes the breakers drink. He stirs the breakers drink.
Right, whatever.
And I think Gill will probably feel he's been a little overlooked.
Ooh.
Right when it's come to All-Star nominations, MVP. No, you got to get inside the mind. He's going to go out with a point to prove against Cedric Jackson.
Possibly.
I think that could be a really good head-to-head.
Well, the one
matchup.
I'm looking for, and I guess it's looking at the bigger picture as well, is the Adam Gibson, Damien Martin matchup, because they're two players on the bubble of Mooma's selection, and no bigger stage than the playoffs for them to go head-to-head. And who knows if it has any bearing on who's going to make the team, but I reckon there's a bit of that in their mind with a ticket to London perhaps on offer as well. That is a matchup that I'm looking forward to the most. Grantley, you've done a pretty weak job of it so far, but I'm going to give you one more chance. Who are you going to give the Sporting game ball to this week?
That's a very good question. Can you have it?
What?
Let's give it to Brendan Ed, who asked about the All-Star game.
Brendan
look at that.
Ed, we will try and get in contact with you. If not, send us an email here at the NBL and we'll follow you up. A few people actually have hit me on the Twitter saying, where's me ball? I don't know what the NBL is doing out here. We're not responsible for dishing out the balls, but we'll certainly try.
No, the NBL has been in contact. I can guarantee they've been in contact.
All right. Good stuff. Grantley, we're running out of time here today. It's been a long show, as it should be, because the playoffs
That's probably because you're talking too much.
Are upon us. But we've got the semi-final series coming up. You know who there are, but this is where the best of three series are going to take place. Talk us through it, Grantley.
The semi-final matchups, it starts on Friday. The New Zealand Breakers and Townsville Crocodiles, Game 1. Game 2 of that series is Thursday, April 5, and Game 3, if needed, is Saturday, April 7. The Perth Wildcats and the Gold Coast Blaze, that starts on April Fool's Day, but it is serious, Sunday, April 1st in Perth. Game 2 is Wednesday, April 4, and Game 3, if needed, is Saturday, April 7.
That's certainly where the action's going to be, and very much looking forward to getting out there and seeing those games. And don't forget, one is the place to see it on television. Grantley, we need to thank those that help us out here, not just here with this show, but in the NBL. And it all starts with our naming rights sponsor,
IONet.
Connect better.
1.
Centrebet.
And 1.
Spalding.
Fido.
Woof woof.
And Virgin Australia.
Fantastic contributions they make to the competition. Get out there, it's an exciting time. Finals time are upon us, and in only a couple of weeks' time, we're going to see who the greatest team in the land is and the champion of the IONet NBL series. Grantley, Bernard, terrific work by you, and we will catch you after the semi-final series are finished.
So in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, we'll come back, break down the semi-final series and look ahead to what promises to be a spectacular final series on the #1 podcast for the IONet in the universe. Did you know that? In the universe. And it's called It Goes On.